morning.
Good morning.
Ready to go?
Please proceed to the
Okay.
Robert's here.
I do have copies of my resume. Does anybody need those? You got them all?
Yes.
Okay, so they will stay. Again, good morning. My name is Bob Rimsza, and I've applied for a position on the Arizona Game and Fish Commission.
One moment. Do raise the mic just a
Okay.
tiny bit. Let's see if we can hear you better.
Is that better?
Yes, it is.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so Bob Rimsza, applied for the position of Arizona Game and Fish Commission. I'll give you my little background. I was born and raised in Arizona. I've spent most of my life here. I graduated from Arcadia High School in kind of central Phoenix. Then I went to ASU, where I got a degree in bioagriculture. I actually went to work for the state of Arizona as a meat inspector in Yuma. After a couple years doing that, I decided I needed to change my occupation. I applied to the College of Pharmacy at the University of Arizona, and I attended that, graduated in 1985. While I was at the College of Pharmacy, I was president of the Student American Pharmaceutical Association for the U of A chapter. And when I graduated, I was also voted as the outstanding senior student. After college, I started my career in pharmacy. I went into retail pharmacy. I worked for retail grocery stores and some freestanding pharmacies, Albertsons, Safeway, and CVS. While I was there, I was always moved up to a manager's position. And essentially, I was running a small business within the grocery stores or at the pharmacies, hiring, firing, budgets, inventory, everything they do to run a small business. So I've had experience there. Also, while I was a pharmacist, I was a diabetes educator and an immunizer, so I was doing all your vaccines and that kind of thing with it. We did live in New Mexico for a couple years, and I worked for Albertsons there. And when I was there, in addition to managing the pharmacy, I was the float pool coordinator for the entire state of New Mexico. That's kind of my work thing. I retired about 1.5 years ago. So I'm free and easy and anxious to do volunteer work. I've been doing a lot of that. My family, I have 3 daughters. As interesting as I have 32-year-old twins. One graduated from NAU and she went to medical school at Creighton, and now she's an OBGYN at the University of Washington, St. Louis. Her twin sister graduated from U of A, and then she got her PhD at North Texas, and she's a material science, and she's presently working at Sandia National Labs in Albuquerque. And the youngest one is going to ASU, and she's in her 3rd year. So I've had a daughter at every single major university in the state of Arizona. And on top of that, my wife is the physician at Mayo Clinic. She graduated from U of A in both pharmacy and medicine. So we really utilize the university setting in the state of Arizona. So we're also a very scientific background family and a very educated family. As far as, that's kind of my background in life. As far as the outdoor experience, I started being in the outdoors and hunting and fishing with my dad and my brothers at a very young age. We essentially have traveled all over Arizona, spending most of my life here, fishing, hunting, all the things you would do. I have 3 brothers and 3 sisters, and for us when we were kids was just to get out in the wild, and then continue on that with my children, and my life is every time I'm out in a mountain or on a lake fishing and like that. So my experience is why I'd be a good commissioner. I kind of went over working in a business and having that with you. Also, I'm very up to date on the regulations of the game and fish. I keep up on everything, either through the Zooms or a lot of just times it's emails. I've been to Game and Fish Commission meetings. And even within my circle of friends and family, it's definitely something that they would call me up about what's going on with the game and fish. Is there a change in rules? And of course, they're always calling me to know where they should put in for and what should they hunt and that kind of thing. I'm also a boat owner and an OHV owner, so I'm aware of those rules and regulations. And I am aware that the Game and Fish oversees that also. And why am I doing this? It's totally altruistic. I really just want to give back to the state of Arizona. I've loved the state. I've enjoyed it. I think it's a wonderful opportunities for the outdoors and the experience, and I would really like to preserve that for future generations. That's my conclusion, and I'm open to questions.
All right, thank you very much. The next step in our procedure is we go through the board, and each board member can ask a question and a follow-up question. And we'll go through twice if we have adequate time and more
Very good.
questions.
Okay.
So I'll start with Charlie.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, Bob.
Morning.
My first question for you, with the onset of the COVID pandemic starting in 2020, Arizona, like many other states, has seen a huge increase in sportsmen taking to the field. This trend has created increased demand for hunting and fishing opportunities. As a commissioner, what steps would you take to increase these opportunities while conserving our fish and wildlife populations?
I think that the strongest place we have to add a lot more sportsmen to is the fishing. I think you can handle that as far as getting people out into the fishing and make them aware of where and they can go, what they can do. I also think small game hunting is a big thing that doesn't impact the major wildlife. It seems to me, as far as the big game, we have a lot of, it's a draw and people get very frustrated with that, feel like they can't go. So we have to open up, get them aware maybe of other opportunities, other things they can do if they don't get a tag, or if they don't get a tag. Potentially, maybe we do something where we change it, maybe make more seasons to shorten them, but not where it doesn't impact the wildlife. That's really a lot dependent on what the wildlife biologist feels that the big game can handle and the small game.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Would you have a follow-up question? That if not, you're not obligated to ask one.
No, I'm good, thank you.
All right. Pat?
Thank you. It makes it key to having an effective five-member commission is having every member attend and participate in every meeting.
Excuse me, Pat, can you get your mic a little closer?
Well, I have to turn it on first. Excuse me, I'm sorry. Let me repeat myself. A major key to having an effective five-member commission is having every member attend and participate in every meeting. Given your current occupation and other obligations, are you able to fulfill this tremendous commitment of time?
Well, I fit that role perfect because, like I mentioned earlier, I retired a year and a half ago, so I don't have any reasons, no work obligations on that. My kids are all grown and in college, so that puts that away. So it's a perfect time for me to do this, and that's one of the reasons I actually was interested in it when I was in Pima County, and I actually petitioned my where I worked at for Albertsons if they would let me take weekends off without pay during the commission meetings so I could do that. They declined that. So, but this works out perfect for me. Obviously, as being retired, I have no reasons why I couldn't make every single meeting and then some. If I'm on the commission, I plan to be very out there, talking to different groups and communities.
Thank you, Pat.
Mm-hmm.
Phil?
Okay, I've got a question and then my real question.
Okay?
Do you have a current Arizona hunting and fishing license?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Sometimes that question gets over.
I have a lifetime hunting and a lifetime fishing
Okay,
license.
very good. Part of being on the commission is establishing public policy. That's a big percentage of the time that you will spend as a commissioner. Can you tell us what experience you have in public policy and how you could use this experience in your role as an Arizona Game and Fish Commissioner?
Well, I'm aware of, if you're talking about game and fish directly, I'm aware of all the rules and regulations. And as a pharmacist, I've had lots of rules and regulations I need to follow and I need to keep up to date on. It's the same process. So I think I listen well and I can absorb the information and get it back out to the public and the reasoning why we have to do what we have to do, whether it's decreasing hunting tags or increasing hunting tags or shortening things. I think I speak well, and as a retail pharmacist, I was talking to people every single day on why things could happen and explaining to them what they needed to do in that case.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you very much. Sure.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Please tell us what you believe to be the two most important issues that the Arizona Game and Fish Department may face in the next 5 years.
Well, I think it's two cycles on it. One is getting people recruitment to hunting, fishing, outdoors, everything, because that all brings in money to the Game and Fish and allows them to do their job. The second thing would be just maintaining and increasing the wildlife. With the drought, with us getting more and more people, keeping lands available and maintaining the population of the wildlife. So it's really getting people to enjoy it and keeping the wildlife and the fish available for them to enjoy.
Thank you very much.
Mhm.
I'm going to ask
Okay.
the next one, and I'm going to start with my second question because it elaborates a little bit more on what Rich was
Mhm.
asking. Part of keeping those lands available and making sure that we have access and making sure we have more wildlife is maintaining constructive relationships with the ranching and farming community that have access to those lands through their private lands. And the commission has a committee that's the Landowner, Sportsmen Relations Committee. And over the course of the last 10 years or more, they have worked diligently to increase access for recreationists through the private lands. Many of our private lands have roads through them that then lead to state or federal lands, and it goes right by the farmer's house or whatever. And the work that's been done by that committee tries to improve and increase the cooperation for providing waters for wildlife, providing access, providing sign-in facilities so they can go through the private land, but then and making sure that trash and other problems related to public use do not impinge on the landowner's willingness to provide that opportunity. Are you familiar with this work, and how would you advance it?
So I'm actually extremely familiar with the work, and I know we just opened up a Santa Teresa wildlife area out of Safford, and that's a good thing. I've used all these places. I have signed in. I've talked to the ranchers, and actually as far as my meat inspecting, and also when we were in Pima County, we were very much into the 4-H. So we raised cattle, sheep, goats, and pigs. And the 4-H tends to bring in the ranchers and the farmers. And I've had many discussions with them. I've gotten permission to hunt on their lands, and I understand exactly what the problems they have. And I think this is a great opportunity to move this forward through just what we've been doing. I think I communicate well with the ranchers because of this background and respect their lands. And I know through talking to them what their issues are as far as gates left open, trash, and OHVs, off-road, stuff like that. So I'm very familiar with this issue.
Thank you very much. Since I've started on that side at the time with my questions now,
Thank you, Madam Chair. You threw me a curve there.
yeah.
Can you please describe the North American model of wildlife conservation and how it relates to the Arizona Game and Fish Commission and the Arizona Game and Fish Department?
Yeah, so the North American model is almost the constitution for management of wildlife. It states that the wildlife is a public resource. that wildlife is also an international resource because of migratory birds and stuff like that. It allocates for laws, which allows the Arizona Game and Fish to put in laws to manage the wildlife, so hunting rules and regulations and control that. It eliminates the hunting for kind of for profit, so that you can't market animals is what I want to say on that. Also, it states that you can only take an animal for a legitimate purpose. That you can't, wantonly just go out and shoot something. It has to be used and the animal to its fullest extent. And the democracy of wildlife, that people, it's not based on who has the most money. It's based on everybody has their opportunities to enjoy and use the wildlife of Arizona.
Thank you very much. Phil?
Thank you, Madam Chair. If you were appointed to the commission, what would be your long-term goal and your short-term goal and your priorities?
So the long-term goal is really just increasing people using it, kind of what I know before, and doing whatever we can to help our wildlife continue on. I think the open access type thing is very important. I think with the drought, getting waters and stuff like that, increasing that, getting everybody involved. I think if we could, is to bring in not just the hunters and the fishermen, so we can get the conservation that we're all on the same page. So if we can bring in some of the other groups that traditionally maybe were not together because there's a little bit of difference between the people that actually take animals and they may have a totally negative feel on that, but if we can bring in that we are helping all the animals by helping habitat and water and stuff like that, and game and non-game animals, and if we can somehow get us all together on the same page of doing that. The short term is probably more, I think we need to catch up technology-wise with the hunters and the fishermen. Really the hunters, the technology has gotten so great that it's changed our fair chase stuff. So at some point we need to, it's maybe some of the reason they're talking about cutting some permits down, and a lot of that is because the hunters have gotten more efficient. We can only take so many animals, we have a percentage that we can take out, we put so many hunters in the field. If they're getting better, we have to cut how many hunters are in the field. So somewhere working the fair chase and establishing that and spreading hunters out, I think is kind of the short-term look on things. Mm-hmm.
Pat?
Thank you, Ben. And you've alluded to this in your last response, but could you expand on the concept of fair chase?
Well, yeah, fair chase is I mean, I would tell you it's my life as you switch to bow hunting and stuff like that, and you look at that, you don't take some of the advantages that potentially could, you don't use that, drones and stuff like that. And it's really standard in Pope and Young and Boone and Crockett. That's kind of what I use as my gold standard as far as electronics, lights, just catching animals in fences or I mean, fair chase, you know when you're doing things fair, and you know when you're taking advantage of the situation. It seems to me pretty obvious. Other people don't see that, but I think we could refine that a little bit as far as what how we look at it with the technology. That's part of it. Is some of the things that we're coming up with, are they fair chase? Because we can use a drone, because we can shoot at 1,000 yards. Some of these things are a little bit, to me, is pushing the edge on that, and it's part of the technology of it. Okay.
Thank you. Charlie?
Thanks, Madam Chair. Bob, my next question for you. Arizona has faced several attempts in recent years to curtail the take of mountain lions and bobcats. This issue has also challenged the role of the commission and the department in managing Arizona's wildlife through science-based conservation, with the risk of wildlife management being decided instead at the ballot box. How do you feel this threat? How do you view this threat, and what steps do you feel are important for the commission and department to take in the future to protect their authority in managing Arizona's wildlife?
So I believe this is a real threat. I know they changed with mountain lions over to the calling and closing units when a certain number is reached, like managing the bear hunts. I actually think it's a very efficient and kind of proper way to manage the mountain lions. It's kind of going back to my earlier talk about bringing other groups in, making them realize that this is a management way and this is the way we keep more animals in the field, and we are taking surplus animals. We need to get that information out to other groups and organizations. And as hunters, we are not going to be in the majority. We're probably not in the majority now. So that's why we need to bring in other conservationists and get them on the same platform as us. And actually, I think also we need to make sure we bring in the fishermen, and everybody else has to be on the same page. We do get a little bit, as hunters and fishermen, that I'm a bow hunter, so I'm better than you, or I'm, you know, I fish with a fly rod, so I'm better than you. We all need to be on the same page, and we need to maintain that if we're going to keep this hunting and fishing on like we are. So, and bringing in other groups that aren't hunters and fishers, getting them to understand that we are helping maintain what they want. We're on the same page. Thank you.
Thank you, no follow-up.
Yes. Thank you very much. I also have a question, and then after that, I'll ask if anyone has a further follow-up question, because I didn't ask about follow-ups in some cases, and something may have occurred to you since we've been hearing more. So, at any rate, my second question is, the state of Arizona has jurisdiction and authority over the wildlife in the state, but we share that to a certain extent with the federal government. There is a constant interface issue with that sharing process. Some of it is very constructive, and some of it is questionable in terms of Arizona's actual ability to manage its wildlife. I'd like you to comment on that, please.
Well, I certainly understand that there could be some conflict between the federal government and what the state wants to do. And some of those things are regulated with the federal government by monies received and that kind of thing. But I think it's just communication. We need to talk with them and have a good open line. And I don't know, honestly haven't worked directly with the federal government a lot, if they're open to constructive criticism or seeing our point of view. But I think it's like everything else, is that if you make a strong case and you have science and to back up what you want to do, people will listen and everything will come around. But it's mostly just working with them. I think, you know, like you said, there's some maybe good things and some bad things, and we just have to work with both parties.
Thank you. I would like to ask if any of the board members would have a question that they have thought of in the course of listening to the candidates' comments.
I'm good, Madam Chairman, thank you.
Yes. Okay, anyone?
I'm good, thank you.
No, all right. We thank you very much. Would you like to make some little closing
I
statement?
would. Thank you very
All right,
much.
go for it.
I want you to know, I think the game fish does a fantastic job. I think it's a hard job, and I think it's a thankless job. So I appreciate them. I appreciate the game wardens and the wildlife biologists. When I have interacted with them, it has been nothing but positive. And I would like to continue on that as part of the game and fish. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right. We will be
Am I
proceeding
welcome to
toward...
stay, or am I supposed to go for future?
What is your preference, folks? Now that he's already made his presentation, he
It's
can
not
stay.
critical either way.
Yes, yes. We don't permit persons who
I
have not
understand,
yet.
yeah, but I can stay.
Feel
Okay.
welcome.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right, we will proceed to our second, which is Marcia Sue.